I'm going to create versions at a much lower polygon to populate the rest of the hills here. Once we finish doing our texturing, we still have to texture it up. I've only textured up this small area here. Rage is asking me, am I using a modeler or did I buy a package from Speedtree, or could you turn the music down just a little bit? I certainly can. Sorry guys if it's a bit loud. You haven't tried Speedtree yet? You can buy trees from Speedtree. I modeled that tree is based on a standard tree from Speedtree that I've then gone in and modeled by hand. I'm just going to turn my music down for you, dude. Is that better, Rage? It's not too loud now? No, sorry, I forget with the music, guys, sometimes, because I don't have headphones on. I can't monitor how loud it is for you guys, so I don't know if it's too loud, so do let me know if it is. But let me know if that's any better for you, Rage. Is the music okay now? It's not too loud, you can hear me okay? I've turned it down. Yeah, so actually it's based on a basic tree from Speedtree that I've actually gone in and modeled them by hand. And again, I've done that to take any branches out from the back here because this is going to be right up against the building. So I don't want branches sticking through the building itself when we place the tree next to it. The same with this one. This was modeled again by hand, and then the collision was done by hand. You can do the collision automatically here in Speedtree. You can get it to generate your collision for you, and it does an okay job, but it places collision all the way up the tree, and I don't need collision up here. The player's only ever going to be able to get to the bottom part of the tree, so. And again, yeah, $19 a month to subscribe. You can subscribe for 1 month, make your trees, and unsubscribe, and then you can keep using your trees. You know, that's not a problem. So if you don't want to keep spending $19 a month once you've made your trees, you can stop, but your trees will still be usable in your game engine. So, and it does a really nice job of creating trees, this program. The cinema version, this is the version for Unreal, but they make a cinema version, which is I use a lot in ArchViz if I'm doing environment work. It makes really high polygon trees, really lovely trees. Again, that's why I use it for the game engine, because I'm used to the interface, because I use it for my ArchViz work. Either that or Eon View. If I'm just rendering in Max, I'll use speed trees because they're animated. I can export them as an Alembic file, which is an animated mesh. So I can keep all of my wind if I'm in Max doing a render, or if I'm in Eon View doing a render. You can still import an Alembic file in Unreal as well, in Eon View as well. So I think we might do some texturing work here. I'm going to start doing a little bit more texturing on this landscape to make it look a bit more interesting, or to fix up the rest of it, because the rest of it's just using a default texture that we have to overpaint. And then we can start placing a few more of our rocks in the level. But again, remember, I'm using a custom LUT here, so the colouring is customized. This is not the default lighting that you get with Unreal. If any of you guys are interested in knowing more about LUTs, I can certainly show you how I created it in Photoshop. So we have our water texture here, and again, the water will just add it adds nice reflection to the landscape and helps to break it up from just looking like all mud. So we're going to be covering up a lot of this ground here on the lower level with grass, and a lot of the hills here on the side with trees and grass. But we'll do that once we've finished doing our texture painting. So let's do some of that now. I'm going to jump into my landscape here, if I can find it. Rage is saying when I get time, he'd definitely like to see how I made the colour from Photoshop. Sure, yeah, no problem. I can certainly go through that for you guys, show you how that LUT texture is created. It's not difficult. You can do it by hand. The best way to do it though is to actually use an actual photographic LUT created, a cube file, CUBE, that's been taken from a real world camera that is used in cinema and film. But I can certainly go through that if you guys want to see it. It can, like I said, it helps to knock down that really bright colouring that comes in by default with Unreal. It can make your scenes look a bit cartoony because it's really saturated. It helps to bring in a more realistic lighting look. Depending on the LUT that you create, you can make it look anything. You can give it any colour blend that you want. I prefer a more realistic one, so I'm using a LUT that looks more realistic. So let's do some texture painting. Landscape. I don't want to select the landscape, I just want to go into my landscape tool here and into paint mode. Now this landscape is using, as you can see, this is an unused texture on the top. That's just to fix any lighting errors you may get Unreal when you start painting. And then it's using these 7 textures. I know that, and now 7 is a lot to be using on a landscape, don't get me wrong. You can probably get away with using 3. Again, I'm using 7 because I'm not creating a game, I'm making a cinematic. And it's less important to me that I'm not so concerned about people running around in the level playing a game for performance. I'm more looking for a realistic look for a cinematic for the camera fly through. So I'm using 7 different textures here for my landscape, but you can probably get away with 3. If you're making a game and you choose your textures carefully, 3 would probably be enough. But hey, I just like more choice, and like I said, I'm doing a cinematic, so I'm using 7. And they're just different types of textures. Like this dirt one here is the one that has the water on it, you see here on the ground. Then I have a mud layer, a rock layer, a dry dirt layer, another rock layer, and a stones layer. So I'm just going to start painting up my textures here. Let's try the dry dirt. I'm just going to wait for the shader to recompile. And again, this is Unreal. Once you start doing more painting, the shader has to start recompiling. Yeah, but I do recommend, guys, you do use a LUT if you do want a specific look to your game, cinematic, whatever you're making in Unreal. It really does allow you to control the lighting much more specifically. You don't have to stick to that default saturated lighting that comes with Unreal. We're just going to have to wait for these shaders to recompile. Jump back into speed tree while that's going. No, that's not. Let's wait. I don't want to push it with this engine. You never know what's going to go on with Unreal. You'll find it'll recompile the shaders depending on where in that landscape we start painting. If we go to an area we haven't painted on before, it'll probably want to recompile the shader again. Getting back to when I used to work in games development though, I used to work on doing levels with the Doom engine. You remember Doom? I don't know, maybe you guys are too young for Doom. But that engine used to take an eternity to compile. If you made your level and you had to rebuild your lighting, I used to have to leave it overnight to do a recompile because it was really slow. So Unreal is relatively fast compared to that. And the new engine, the Rage engine or whatever they call it now, I'm sure is a lot better. But yeah, I'm talking the original Doom here. The compiling times used to be nightmares. Alright, let's start doing some painting, I think. I'm painting with the wrong one. Okay. Let's go back to the right texture here. There we go. Rage is saying you're not sure how I'm not sure if you know, but do you know that many people are working on the netcode in a standard AAA company? Do I know how many people are usually working on the netcode? What do you mean by the netcode, Rage? I'm not sure I understand what you mean by the netcode. Again, I don't. If you're talking about networking when you say netcode, I wouldn't really know. I'm more design than TCP/IP networking stuff. Just going to undo here a few times to get rid of some of this texturing here when I was painting with the wrong layer. You mean if there's a multiplayer side of the game, how many people are there to monitor and improve the online functions of it? Yeah, I really wouldn't know, and it'll depend really on the size of the company or making the game as well. It can really vary. All these team sizes really vary depending on the size of the company. But I don't have anything to do with netcode. I work with design, so. I couldn't tell you. Sorry. Yeah. I know with design though, there can be, the team sizes can vary. And again, it depends on the game as well. I'm just painting in some dirt values here.
New eyes, new vision for the world.
It's a problem, you're just wondering. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not the best person to ask about that. I could tell you if you're wondering about design, like how many artists were working in a team, but the network side, no, I don't really know. And I don't want to give you information that's wrong, so. Alright, let's keep going up the hill here. Let's choose another rock texture, I think. And go with you. Let's look at this mud here. And we'll vary it up a little bit, maybe with some stone. Back to a few rocks. As I travel through the mountains, walking through this wasteland. Alright. Let's look at this mud. All alone out in this world, through the darkness I descend. My eyes are fixed on the horizon. Pushing onwards to the end. Move it up, yeah. Jump back to some room. Actually, I don't want to go to rock. We'll go rock. Actually, I don't want to go to stone. Yeah, and I'm avoiding using a really large brush and going over the whole landscape at once. I like to concentrate on small areas. That's just how I like to work. I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, I'm just saying it's how I like to do it, because I can get more, I can concentrate on one area at a time, and as opposed to trying to do everything at once. I want to get rid of that small section there, so let's look at maybe some mud. Yeah. Let's jump up to this hill up here in the background. I want to use, I think, rock through here. I'm actually using my mouse here. I should be using the tablet, but yeah, I'll continue using the mouse. It's probably easier for you guys if you have a tablet to use a tablet though, because you have pressure sensitivity with the tablet, which you don't get with the mouse. I probably would come back and use the tablet once I've got these basic textures down to fine tune it a bit more. Let's go with some, let's check this rock texture out here. Maybe some through the side here. I want these to look more like rocky outcrops as opposed to dirt areas. So I do want to break it up a bit. I don't want all one rock texture. Just by adding a variation on that, I can just make it look a bit more interesting. Back to add a bit more rock through here. Maybe some dry dirt. Again, it's compiling. You'll see it'll do that occasionally as I work, as I get onto a new section of the landscape. I want rock up through here. I think I want some rock up through here. Hey Sniper Echo, good to see you. I am keeping well, thank you. Again guys, sorry for not being able to stream last week. I had to go into state for work. We're just doing some texturing here of our landscape. And again, this landscape I created in Eon View and exported out a height map. And then just brought that height map in and we're starting to texture it up now. So I thought you guys might have been getting a bit sick of watching me working on railing sections and stuff in Mac. I know a bit of variety is always good. Okay, let's choose another texture. Again though guys, like I said, I'm using 6 textures on this. I wouldn't advise you go that high if you're making a game and you're texturing up your landscape. I'd probably try and keep it to 3. But like I said, we're doing a cinematic, so we don't really have to worry about that too much. Let's do some dried dirt, maybe through here. Maybe down on this side as well. Go back to a bit of rock. And maybe throw in a little bit of stone here. No, so that's cool, dude. So long as you're here, that's fine. It's always good to see you. I do appreciate it, you popping in too. I appreciate all you guys popping in and watching. Like I said, it makes me know that somebody is out there, because I don't have my stream open while I at work. So I never know who's watching or if anyone's even watching. So let's go back to some dry dirt. And yeah, again, like I said, sorry for not being able to stream last week, guys. There are occasions where the studio will send me interstate or away, because we do work for, I specialise in heritage work in ArchViz. I work for an ArchViz studio, just for anyone that may be watching that doesn't know who I am and what I do. You can go to my website, phildoes3d.com, if you want to read up more about me. But yeah, I specialise in heritage work. But there are times that the studio will do work for mining companies, which is why I was interstate the other day, last week. I had to go out to some big iron ore mine. Oh, cool. Thank you, Rage. I'm glad you like the streams. I try and show you guys and do things that I think will be of interest to you or useful for you. Which is, and I can't do any of the stuff for my work on stream. I can only do personal projects, and you wouldn't want to see me working on stuff for a mining company anyway. It's all pretty boring. They like, we do a lot of photogrammetry work for miners. And again, I do want to do a stream on photogrammetry to show you guys how that's done as well, because it can be really useful as for a 3D artist to know how to do photogrammetry and to do it properly, or to get good results anyway, because it can save you a lot of time and you can create some really nice looking models. So at some stage I will do that, but I do have to go out and take some photos before I can do that. And I thought we'll do our Unreal work here while we're waiting, because it's something that you guys will probably be interested in with our game engine, and it's free, so you know you don't have to spend any money to download Unreal here and use it. Yeah, I know Sniper Echo wants me to do something on photogrammetry as well, and I will do something on photogrammetry. It is really useful and fun. It can be a fun thing to do as well. No, well, yeah, mining company like mine shafts, but these are open cut miners, so the ones that cut that big hole out of the ground. Iron ore miners generally don't go down in mines. They slice out huge holes in the ground, like those tiered holes that you see mining companies have done. Yeah, iron ore they tend to take out of the ground that way. So they'll just keep digging down and make this massive, ginormous hole as they dig it out. And they use photogrammetry to measure piles, like if they want to know the volume of a certain pile of iron ore that they have on the ground. Photogrammetry can be really useful for that, because with photogrammetry you can actually get a really accurate measurement of volume. Again, that's why they use it a lot. And they also use it because a lot of the trucks are automated, so they need to get the computer system needs to know the lay of the land. Yeah, but again, it's stuff that would be really boring, guys. You really wouldn't want to do it. I mean, I do it because the studio tells me I have to, not because I choose to. That's not the part of photogrammetry that I particularly like, but it's useful. Useful for them. No, you're working on a tunnel boring machine? Okay, cool. You guys have probably noticed with my work, if you look at any of my previous stuff on my website, I don't tend to like to do a lot of machinery. I mean, I've done machinery, but I prefer not to. I'm more I like heritage buildings, so I like the stones and statues and all that sort of stuff. I'm not so much into guns and cars and machines. But that's just me. I know a lot of you guys are. No, nothing wrong with that. It's just personal preference for me. But there are times I do have to work on it because I'm told to. So the studio says do it, and I do it. Yeah, like I said, I know a lot of the guys that work online will work on guns, or they'll work on cars. Cars are very popular. I'm not one of those sort of designers, though. I don't like working on that stuff. Yeah, well, terrains. Because I come from an environment artist background. When I worked in games, I was an environment artist and a technical artist, but mainly an environment artist. So that's why my background is more environments and trees and grass and hills and all that sort of stuff, which is what I really love doing. Which is why I started doing that to begin with. But I like doing statues and all that sort of thing as well. Which is why a lot of my portfolio that you'll see is actually statues. Like angel statues or statues in general. So I like all of that, that stonework look. And the main reason I joined the studio I'm with now was to do heritage work. They have a lot of lovely old buildings that they need to be converted into 3D models. Because they use them for extensions. If they want to put a modern extension on a heritage building, then they need to model it up, and the architect needs to know how to design it to complement the building. So that's mainly what I do in the studio, but we also do stuff for mining companies. So there are times when I have to go out to a mine and do some stuff for them. Not that I like doing it, but I have to. Just going to throw mud down here. Okay, let's break that up a little bit with some dry dirt. Again, I'm doing this to be quite detailed. We are going to be covering up a lot of this with trees and with grass, but there will be areas that I'll leave open. So having some interesting detail going on in the texture here will really help when we do our cinematic. Because I won't cover these areas up with trees or grass. I'll probably just leave them open. Or place rocks on them like I have here. Other rocks to complement them. Yeah, so again, I thought we'd work on the landscape because it's something a bit more interesting for you guys as opposed to watching me working on railing sections forever. And again, like I said, I used Eon View to create this landscape by exporting a height map from one of the terrains I actually modelled up in View. So it's just another use for Eon View. If you don't want to do rendering in the actual program and you're more into games, you can certainly use it to export out a terrain that way as a height map, which is what I've done here. I want to make sure I don't have any water areas laying in an area like that. because that's really unnatural. You don't have water laying on an angle like that. And that's my fault, because when I place the default texture, I use that texture with the water. So if I hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have so much of a problem here. That was my bad. That's alright. We can cover it up. Let's put some layered rock through here. Thanks. These are actually substances. So you remember we were talking, Sniper Echo, a few weeks ago about using substances that you can change on the fly in Unreal. That's what I've done here. I'm using actual substances. So where are they? I think they're in my textures, in my terrains. Yep. So I'm actually using substance textures. And that's so I can go into the substance, and if I want to change the look of the texture, I can do it automatically here on the fly. So if I want to add more rock or less rock, or more water or less water, and that type of thing. Substance Painter 2, yes, that's right, Rage. So yeah, for landscape, Substance works really well. You know, I'm not overly fond of Substance Painter as a texturing tool. It has its place and it does it well. I don't like to overuse it because it's everything ends up looking the same. But for landscapes particularly, it works really well. No problem. Yeah, it's Substance Painter too. But Substance Painter can give you some really nice textures on your models. I'm not saying don't use it. I'm just saying I like to do a lot of my hand painting. That's why I use Mari for my texturing of my models. But I do use Substance. You saw me using it for those pieces here of the railings and all that sort of thing. So I do use it. I'm not saying don't use it. I just prefer to do the hand stuff using Mari because I like painting by hand. I feel like it's more artistic doing it that way. But that's just me though. Like I said, Substance Painter does the job well. You just got to make sure you avoid everything looking the same, that's all. Just painting out these areas here where the water is laying where I don't want it to. I don't want it to be laying on a ridge. I just want the water area in the flat parts of the terrain. Make sure I mix that up with some rocks though, so we don't get an odd looking texture. And again, this terrain, just for anyone that didn't see at the very beginning when I went through it, is using a tessellation. I go to wireframe mode here. I have a tessellation shader mapped to my camera position or to wherever you are. If you're walking around in the world on foot, it tessellates the geometry just around you, just to give a bit more detail to the landscape itself. Again, you wouldn't want to use tessellation on the entire landscape because it would slow down too much. So I'm using tessellation, but just in a field of around 1,000 units around the actual camera here, around the person that would be walking in the level. Now, again, that'll just gives us a bit more interest in the actual geometry, a bit more detail in the geometry. Throw some dirt through here. We'll throw some rocks through here. Maybe through here. So basically I'm adding my rock texture to any of these bits that jut out. And any of the flatter areas I'm either using dirt or using that water and pebble shader. And again, we're using parallax mapping. I have a shader set up to do parallax mapping, but I'm not using that for the landscape. I'm going to be using that for the ceiling plastering paneling. let's just go down there and take a quick look at that again. This panel here is using parallax mapping, and parallax mapping is a really good use of that. Just going to get out of this mode here quickly. Is a really good use of our height map that we created in Nulled. If you use Nulled, you can use the height map to do this parallax mapping here, which is what we're using for our ceiling paneling to give it this look of detailing and three-dimensionality, even though that's just a flat plane. So it only uses 2 triangles. It makes it look a lot more detailed through the parallax map. And again, that map is really not too difficult to create because most of the work is done by Unreal. This node here, this parallax occlusion mapping node, does a lot of the work. You just pipe in basically your height map into the height build texture here, and that's the height map we get out of Nulled. I just have a few more adjustments on my shader here to make sure that I can get rid of any MIP maps or any small pixelation that occurs that can occur on parallax mapping. It just basically what it's doing is it's cleaning up the normal map and blending it in to make it look smoother, so we don't get any of that pixelation or MIP mapping happening. But you do have to be careful with parallax mapping, like I said, because if you want to place it somewhere where the player can't get too close to it, because you can see here, if the player gets too close to it, it breaks down. So this is going to be on the ceiling, so the player's never going to get that close to it. So it's a really good spot to use parallax mapping up on the ceiling. No problem, Rage. Yeah, I will be probably still on. I'm on till midday, so looks like I forgot to grab a coffee too. That's no good. I may do that quickly, guys. I may just take a quick break for 2 minutes while I go and grab a fresh cup of coffee here, and then I'll be back and we can continue doing some of our texturing work here in our landscape. Yes, I'll be on till 12, Rage. Thanks for popping in if I don't see you later on. I'll be back in just a couple of minutes, guys. I'll grab a fresh cup of coffee. So just give me 2 minutes. I'll leave you with my Be Right Back screen. Hopefully the audio won't stutter for you. Okay. Got my fresh coffee, so I'm good. Do let me know if the music is still too loud though. I did turn it down just in case it's still too loud though. Like I said, I don't monitor it, so I never know whether it's loud or not. Go back to our paint tool here. Well, I'm not sure if you were here, Sniper Echo, when I was talking about the LUT, because we're using a custom LUT color here in the engine to make sure our lighting is looking the way I want it to look. And I know Rage wanted me to go through showing you guys how that's done in Photoshop, which I will do at some stage if you guys are really interested in it. Because it can give you some really interesting lighting looks in Unreal as opposed to the default engine, which is really saturated. Let's get rid of some of this through here. Actually, let's add some rock in here. Around here. Yeah, I am using a LUT. Again, if I go into... Let's go down to the trees, because again, they're the best example of using a LUT, of the colour change anyway. So if we look at our trees here, and I jump into my post-process volume, which is what controls the LUT. I created a custom LUT in Photoshop. There we are. So that's what your LUT looks like. I created that in Photoshop. and applied that using a post-process value because this is the default lighting with Unreal. And you can see it's really saturated, the trees are very green. And a custom LUT will allow you to change the colour of the lighting in Unreal.